everybody. My name is Eric D. Johnson, also on BrightShine, right here in the city of Memphis, in the county seat of the state of Tennessee. Today's date is Sunday morning, early Sunday morning, January the 6th, 2019. And the time is 4:03 a.m. And this is part 2 of the same video that I just stopped. This is part 2 of the same video, and it's dated January the 6th, 2019. So I'm going to continue my reading. Now, okay, we just got to read Acts chapter 1, 2, and 3. Now, we don't skip around or keep scribbling, but see, like I said, with time. Now, I can't sit here and read all the way from Acts chapter 1, all the way to chapter 28. So, then, we have Acts chapter 4. And, that was chapter 4, and then chapter 5. Acts chapter 5, it talks about Ananias and Sapphira. Okay, and so we're finna go over to Acts chapter 6. All right. Let me get this together. In Acts chapter 6, we're going to start reading the verse number 1. Now you got your bookmark on Matthew chapter 3 and 4, because we're going to refer back, and then we're going to be referring back to Acts chapter 6, 7. When we know Acts chapter 7, that's Stephen's defense. We know that Stephen, but we're going to go to Acts chapter 7, verses 54. Through 60. So and then we're going to go to Acts chapter 8, verses 1 through 4. Then we're going to go to Acts chapter 9. So keep your bookmark. Now we're in Acts chapter 6. We'll start reading verse number 1. And in those days, when the number of the disciples were multiplied, there arose a murmur of the Grecians against the Hebrews, because their widows were neglected in the daily administration. Then the 12 called the multitude of the disciples unto them and said, It is not read that we should leave the word of God and serve table. Wherefore, brethren, look ye out among you 7 men upon this report, full of the Holy Ghost and wisdom, whom we may appoint over this business. But we will give ourselves continuing to prayer and to the ministry of the word. And the saying pleased the whole multitude, and they chose Stephen, a man full of faith and of the Holy Ghost, and Philip, and Prochorus, and Nicanor, and Timon, and Parmenas, and Nicholas, and proselyte of Antioch, whom they set before the apostles. And when they had prayed, they laid their hands on them. Now, as you know, when we read Acts chapter 21, it talks about Philip the evangelist being one of the 7. And this is the Philip they talking about. You know, in Acts chapter 6, verses 1 through 6. Because he was chosen to be one of the 7 who was serving on tables. And we're going to continue to read. And the word of God increased, and the number of the disciples multiplied Jerusalem great, and a great company of the priests were obedient to the faith. And Stephen, full of faith and power, did great wonders and miracles among the people. Then there arose certain of the synagogue, which is called the synagogue of the Libertines, the Cyrenians and Alexandrians, and of them of Cilicia and of Asia, disputing with Stephen. Now let me say this. Now while some people at the synagogue rose up, remember, then verse number 7, and the word of God increased, and the number of the disciples multiplied in Jerusalem greatly, and a great company of the priests were obedient to the faith. So don't think that some of the people who were Jews were not being converted, because it says it right here in verse number 7, Acts chapter 6, verse number 7. And the word of God increased, and the number of the disciples multiplied in Jerusalem greatly, and a great company of the priests were obedient to the faith. And then some people in the synagogue rose up, and Stephen, let me read verse number 8, and Stephen, full of faith and power, did great wonders and miracles among the people. Then there arose certain of the synagogue, which is called the synagogue of the Libertines and Cyrenians and Alexandrians, and of them of Cilicia and of Asia, disputing with Stephen. And they were not able to resist the wisdom and the spirit by which he spake. Then they suborned men. Pay attention. This is the reason why we're going to refer back. This is very important. This is very important. Read. This is very important. Pay attention. Then they suborned men, which said, we have heard him speak. Listen, listen, listen. Blasphemous words against Moses and against God. And against God. Listen. Pay attention. And they stirred up the people and elders and scribes, and came upon him, and caught him, and brought him to the council, and set up false witnesses, which said, this man ceases not to speak blasphemous words against this holy place and the law. Listen, listen. It's important. This is very important. For we have heard him say that this Jesus of Nazareth shall destroy this place and shall change the custom which Moses delivered us. And all that sat in the council looking steadfast on him saw his face as it had been the face of an angel. We're going to come back to that. Put your bookmark right there. See, this is very important. Saul from Tarsus, the self-proclaimed Apostle Paul. He's a liar. He's a murderer. He's the devil. Acts chapter 7, that's Stephen's defense. So we know that this is Stephen's defense. But what we're going to do, we're going to stay in Acts chapter 7, and we're going to go to verses 50. We're going to start reading at verse 54. When they heard these things, they were cut to the heart, and they gnashed on him with their teeth. But he, being full of the Holy Ghost, looked up steadfast into heaven and saw the glory of God, and Jesus standing on the right hand of God, and said, behold, I see the heavens open, and the Son of Man standing on the right hand of God. Then they cried out with a loud voice, and stopped their ears, and ran upon him with one accord, and cast him out of the city, and stoned him. And the witnesses laid their clothes at a young man's feet, whose name was Saul. And they stoned Stephen, calling upon God, and saying, Lord Jesus, receive my spirit. And he kneeled down and cried with a loud voice, Lord, lay not this sin to their charge. And when he had said this, he fell asleep. It's very important. We're going to come back. Remember, we're going to come back. Pay attention, listen. We're in chapter 8. We're in Acts chapter 8. This is very important. It's very important. We're in Acts chapter 8. We're going to start reading verse no more. We're going to go slow. And Saul, listen, and Saul was consenting until his death. Stop right there. And Saul was consenting until his death. Now, what did they accuse Stephen of? Let's turn back. Get your bookmark. Now, let's go back to Acts chapter 6. We're in Acts chapter 6. And we're going to start reading verse number 8 because it's about Stephen. Verse number 8. We're in Acts chapter 6. We're going to start reading verse number 8. And Stephen, full of faith and power, did great wonders and miracles among the people. Then there arose certain of the synagogue, which is called the synagogue of the Libertines and Cyrenians and Alexandrians, and them of Cilicia and of Asia, disputing with Stephen. And they were not able to resist the wisdom and the spirit by which he spake. Then they stubborn men which said, we have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and against God, and stirred up the people and the elders and the scribes, and came upon him and caught him and brought him to the council, and set up false witnesses, which said, this man ceases not to speak blasphemous words against this holy place and the law. For we have heard him say that this Jesus of Nazareth shall destroy this place, and shall change the custom which Moses delivered us. And all that sat in the council looking steadfast and saw his face as it had been the face of an angel. And so let me turn back to Acts chapter 8, verse number 1. And Saul was consenting until his death. How you gonna consent to somebody's death? I guess you know what you're talking about. The chief priest and all them. And so all the high priests and all of them were sitting there listening when Stephen gave his defense. But it says here in Acts chapter 8, verse number 1, and Saul was consenting until his death. So I guess he know what he's talking about. Okay. So we're going to continue our reading. We're in Acts chapter 8. We're in verse number 1. And Saul was consenting to his death, and at that time there was a great persecution against the church which was at Jerusalem. And they were all scattered abroad throughout the regions of Judea and Samaria, except the apostles. And devout men carried Stephen to his burial, and made great lamentation over him. Verse number 3. As for Saul, he made havoc of the church. Evil. Enter into every house, and hailing men and women, committed them to prison. He didn't care what concerned about the children. Put men and women in prison. Verse number 4. Therefore they that were scattered abroad went everywhere, preaching the word. Now, chapter 8, Acts chapter 8, as you know, it also talks about Simon the sorcerer. who was corrected. He was corrected by the Apostle Peter. And also in Acts chapter 8, the Apostle Philip, he converted the Ethiopian eunuch. So let's get to Acts chapter 9. We're going to start reading the verse 1. Keep your bookmark there. This is very important. This is very important. Saul from Tarsus, the self-proclaimed Apostle Paul, is a liar. He's a murderer. He's the devil. And Saul yet breathing out threatenings and slaughter against the disciples of the Lord, went unto the high priest and desired him letters to Damascus, to the synagogue, that if he found any of this way, whether they were men or women, he might bring them bound unto Jerusalem. Verse number 3. And as he journeyed, it does not say morning, it does not say noon, it does not say evening. It says in verse number 3, Acts chapter 9, verse number 3, and as he journeyed, he came near Damascus, and suddenly, this is very important, you got your bookmark, and suddenly there shined round about him a light from heaven. Stop right there. Now, Saul got physical eyes. Now, like we've been saying, this is not sunlight. It's not moonlight. It's not starlight. And it also, it's not lightning, But it says in verse number 3, Acts chapter 9, verse number 3, he said, and as he journeyed, he came near Damascus, and suddenly there shined round about him, only him, a light from heaven. So at the end of that verse, it tells you where the light came from. And when you hear where that light came from, that's God. That's God. Jesus is the Son of God. That's God. So he don't know who it is. But the light is shining around about him, and the light is a heavenly light. See, this is how you know he lying. This is when you know he is a liar, because it tells you the light shined around about him. It wasn't sunlight, it wasn't moonlight, it wasn't starlight, it wasn't no lightning, but it was a light. And there's a light that shined around about him, and it's a heavenly light. He lying. He know who that light is. He know who that light is. Put your bookmark down. Now I'm going to read verse number 8. I'm going to read Acts chapter 8 again, verse number 1. And Saul was consented unto his death. For you to consent to Stephen's death, I guess you know what you're talking about. Okay, let's turn to Acts chapter 6. And again, I'm going to read Acts chapter 6. Start reading verse number 8. And Stephen, full of faith and power, did great wonders and miracles among the people. Then there arose certain of the synagogue, which is called the synagogue of the Libertines, and Cyrenians and Alexandrians, and of them of Cilicia and of Asia, disputing with Stephen. And they were not able to resist the wisdom and the spirit by which he spake. Then there among men which said, we have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and against God. Against God. And they stirred up the people and the elders and the scribes and came upon him and caught him and brought him to the council and set up false witnesses which said, this man ceaseth not to speak blasphemous words against this holy place and the law. Okay. So we're in Acts chapter 9, and it says, verse number 3, and as he journeyed, he came to Damascus, and suddenly there shined around about him a light from heaven. He know who it is. Saul know who that light is. Verse number 4, and he fell to the earth. He was the only one who fell to the earth and heard a voice. So now his ears, his physical ears, and he fell to the earth. Now let me say this. That light from heaven, he know who that light is. See, he being disobedient. See, he lying about knowing who that light is. So now he being disobedient. Don't think just because he fell to the earth that he being obedient. Because he not. Because he not repenting. See, that's what you have to remember. He not repenting. You see, all that sin he had committed even before then. See, it was wrong. It was sin that he was doing. It was evil. He the devil. And he fell to the earth and heard a voice saying unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? See, it's sin. He evil. How you gonna persecute Jesus, the Son of God, and then you don't even repent? When Jesus already shined the light around you. And then you hear his voice speak to you saying, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? See, this is how you know he's a liar. He's the devil. And he said, who art thou, Lord? He asked him questions. Jesus Christ already told you. When that light shined around about him, Jesus told you who it was. See, that's a liar. He's a liar. Then Jesus Christ spoke to him. Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? I'm telling you who it is. Again, he lied again. He don't want to admit that he's talking to Jesus. So he lied again. Lord, who art thou? Who art thou, Lord? He the devil. Saul is the devil. And he said, who art thou, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Jesus, whom thou persecutest. It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. He the devil. Saul is the devil. Once again, Jesus Christ has told you who I am. And look at what he do. See, this is how you know he's a liar. When I tell you I am Jesus, what is it that you're supposed to do? You're supposed to repent. You're supposed to repent. I've been telling you over and over again who I am. The light shined around about you. Then I spoke to you. Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? Who you think you supposed? Who gonna persecute Jesus Christ, the Son of God? And then when Jesus spoke to you to make it known that I am the Son of God, then you're gonna deny him. You're gonna deny Jesus. You're gonna deny Jesus. You don't deny Jesus, the Son of God. He gonna ask a question. Who art thou, Lord? Jesus already told you. So when Jesus told him, I am Jesus, whom thou persecutest, what is it that you're supposed to do? You're supposed to repent. You're supposed to repent. See, this is the reason why we in Matthew. Put your bookmark there. See, this, I want to get to this point here. This is where I want to get to. This is the reason why I did that. And let me see what it says. Verse number, okay, it said verse number 5. And he said, who art thou, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Jesus, whom thou persecutest. It's hard for thee to keep against the priest. Verse number 6. And he, trembling and astonished, said, Lord, what would thou have me to do? And the Lord said unto him, arise and go into the city, and it shall be told thee what thou must do. Jesus Christ had already told him what to do. I am Jesus. When you hear Jesus Christ declare to you that I am Jesus, the Son of God, let's turn to the book of Matthew. This is where I want to get to. This is where I want to get to the book. So we're going to refer back to the book of Matthew. We're going to start in Matthew chapter 3. Now we're going to start with Matthew chapter 3 with John the Baptist. We're going to start reading in verse number 1. And in those days came John the Baptist, preaching in the wilderness of Judea. Verse number 2. And saying, repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Now we're going to go over to Acts, to Matthew chapter 4. And we're going to start reading in verse 17. Matthew chapter 4, verse 17. From that time, Jesus began to preach and to say, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Saul from Tarsus himself proclaimed apostle. He the devil. He the devil. Now let's continue our reading. Okay? Now, and like I said, in verse number 6, verse number 5, it says, and he said, who art thou, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Jesus. When the Lord tell you, I'm Jesus, I am Jesus. You don't have to ask me no question like, Lord, what would I do? What would I have me to do? I'm telling you what to do. I'm telling you, I am Jesus. When you hear I am Jesus, but yet it's still this the same person. I want to remind you. See, this the same person who consented to the death of Stephen. I don't want you to forget. See, while we still there, I want you to remember. See, this is the reason why I did that. See, this is how you know he was lying. This is how you know he was lying. He the devil. Saul is the devil. See? And then it says, I am Jesus, who that person is hard for thee to keep against the people. And he trembling in the stone said, Lord, what would thou have me to do? Jesus just told you, I am Jesus, whom thou persecute. And the Lord said unto him, arise and go into the city, and shall be told thee what thou must do. Now let me just turn it over here one more time. Acts chapter 6. I want to make sure we get this clear. Acts chapter 6. And I'm going to read again, verse number 8. And Stephen, full of faith and power, did great wonders and miracles among the people. Then there arose certain of the synagogue, which is called the synagogue of the Libertines, Cyrenians, and Alexandrians, and of them of Cilicia and of Asia, disputing with Stephen. And they were not able to resist the wisdom and the spirit by which he spake. Then there spurned men which said, We have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and against God. And they stirred up the people and the elders and the scribes, and came upon him and caught him and brought him to the council and set up false witnesses, which said, This man ceases not to speak blasphemous words against this holy place and the law. For we have heard him say that this Jesus of Nazareth shall destroy this place and shall change the custom which Moses delivered us. And all that said in the council looked steadfast and saw his face as been the face of an angel. See, you must know what you're talking about. And so, let me see. And then, as you know, in Acts chapter 7, they stoned Stephen to death. So in Acts chapter 8, verse number 1, and Saul was consenting unto his death. And then he persecuted the church. And at that time, there was a great persecution against the church, which was at Jerusalem. And they were all scattered abroad throughout the regions of Judea and Samaria, except the apostles. And devout men carried Stephen to the burial and made great lamentation over him. And as for Saul, he made havoc of the church, entering into every house and hailing men and women, committed them to prison. Therefore, they that were scattered abroad went everywhere preached the word. And so when we got to Acts chapter 9, as you can see, Saul didn't repent. Even when the Lord showed him that I am Jesus of Nazareth, he did not repent. He did not repent. He lied. He denied that when Jesus said, I am Jesus. He lied. He the devil. So we're going to continue our reading in Acts chapter 9, verse number 7. And the men which journeyed with him stood speaking. The men stood. See, it wasn't no light shining around these men. The light shined around about Saul. And the men which journeyed with him stood speaking, hearing the voice. They heard a voice, but they ain't seen no man. And Saul arose from the earth with his eyes were open. He saw no man, but they led him by the hand and brought him into Damascus. And he was 3 days without sight, and neither did eat or drink, nor drink. And there was a certain disciple at Damascus named Ananias. And to him said the Lord in the vision, Ananias. And he said, Behold, I am here, Lord. And the Lord said unto him, Arise, and go into the street which is called Straight, and inquire in the house of Judah for one called Saul of Tarsus. For behold, he prayeth, and have seen in a vision that man named Ananias coming in and putting his hand on him, that he might receive his sight. Then Ananias answered, Lord, I have heard by many of this man how much evil he hath done to thy saints at Jerusalem. And here he hath authority from the chief priest to bind all that call on thy name. But the Lord said unto him, Go thy way, for he is a chosen vessel unto me, to bear my name before the Gentiles and kings and the children of Israel. For I will shew him how great things he must suffer for my name's sake. And Ananias went his way and entered into the house and put his hands on him, saying, Brother Saul, the Lord, even Jesus, that appeared unto thee in the way as thou camest, hath sent me, that thou mightest receive that sight and be filled with the Holy Ghost. And immediately there fell from his eyes that had been scales, and he received sight forthwith, and arose and was baptized. He didn't repent. He'd been sitting up in the house for 3 days. Can't see. for 3 days and talking about he been praying to get his sight back. But irregardless, he didn't repent. See, that's the whole point. See, he the devil. The devil don't never repent. He just sitting up here lying. Sitting up here talking about he praying to get his eye, to get to this, he trying to deceive all of us. He's sitting up here trying to pray to Jesus to get my sight back. That's the only thing he's trying to do, get his sight back. Then when he get his sight back, then what you gonna do? So that's all he was doing, just praying so he can get his sight back. But see, you didn't pray to Jesus. You didn't recognize Jesus. You didn't acknowledge Jesus for being the Son of God. See, you didn't acknowledge God. You done did all this evil and still doing evil. Still doing evil. Still doing evil. And when he had received meat, he was strengthened. Then was Saul certain day with the disciple which were at Damascus. And straightway he preached Christ in the synagogue, that he is the Son of God. But all that heard him were amazed and said, is not this he that destroyed them, which called on this name in Jerusalem, and came hither for that intent, that he might bring them bound unto the chief priests? But Saul increased the more, and straightly confounded the Jews which dwelt at Damascus, proving that this is very Christ. Watch what he gonna do. Watch. This is how you know he the devil. This is how you know that Saul is the devil. He done seen the Lord in the way, and the Lord spoke to him. Now look at what he's doing. He's sitting up here preaching Christ in the synagogue, that he is the Son of God, and proving that he is the Christ. Now watch. Just watch as he's going. And after that many days were fulfilled, the Jews took counsel to kill him. But their laying await was known to Saul, and they watched the gates day and night to kill him. Then the disciples took him by night and let him down by the wall in a basket. And when Saul was come to Jerusalem, he essayed to join himself to the disciples. But they were all afraid of him, and believed not that he was a disciple. But Barnabas took him and brought him to the apostles, and declared unto them how he had seen the Lord in the way, and that he had spoken to him, and how he had preached boldly at Damascus in the name of Jesus. See, he had seen the Lord in the way, and the Lord had spoke to him. But when the Lord Jesus spoke to him, the Lord Jesus never told him or anybody that he was an apostle. See, that's the reason why it's so important to read God's word. And then we put them little bookmarks there, because see, we be referring back and forth. Jesus Christ did not tell Saul when he seen the Lord in the way, and when the Lord spoke to him. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, never said that Saul from Tarsus, the self-proclaimed apostle, was an apostle. And Jesus Christ, the Son of God, did not tell his apostles that he chose that Saul from Tarsus, the self-proclaimed apostle, was an apostle. He the devil. That's how you know he the devil. That's how you know he the devil. And he was with them coming in and going out at Jerusalem. And he spake boldly in the name of the Lord Jesus, and disputed against the Grecians. But they went about to slay him. Which when the brethren knew, they brought him down to Caesarea, and sent him forth to Tarsus. Now let's stop right there. Stop right there. in verse number 30. Because this is how you know that Saul is the devil. This is how you know. See? When you refer back and Ananias we in Acts chapter 9, and Ananias went his way and entered into the house and put his hand on him, saying, Brother Saul, the Lord, even Jesus that appeared unto thee in the way, as thou camest, has sent me, that thou mightest receive sight, and be filled with the Holy Ghost. And immediately there fell from his eyes that had been scaled, and he received sight forthwith, and arose, and was baptized. And when he had received meat, he was strengthened. Then was Saul certain days with the disciples which were at Damascus, and straightway he preached Christ in the synagogue, that he is the Son of God. But all that heard him were amazed, and said, Is not this he that destroyed them, which called on this name in Jerusalem, and came hither for their intent, that he might bring them bound unto the chief priests? But Saul increased the more in strength, and confounded the Jews which dwelt at Damascus, proving that this is very Christ. Let me read, we're in Acts chapter 9, verse 28, and he was with them coming in and going out at Jerusalem, and he spake boldly in the name of the Lord Jesus, and disputed against the Greeks, but they went about to slay him, which when the brethren knew, they brought him down to Caesarea, and sent him forth to Tarsus. Now stop right there. He's a devil. Now, all those scriptures that we read, now we're in Tarsus. So now Saul from Tarsus, the self-proclaimed Apostle Paul, he from Tarsus. This is where he from. This is his home. He from Tarsus. The Lord's, he seen the Lord in the way, and the Lord spoke to him all those things that we just read. So now he's in Tarsus. So let's just take just about a minute. Let's just take about a minute. Saul from Tarsus, the self-proclaimed Apostle Paul, he is now in Tarsus. So, Saul from Tarsus, the self-proclaimed Apostle Paul. You know, that's where he's from. He's from Tarsus. And now you can see how in the world could you see the Lord in the way and the Lord speak to you. And then the Lord sent Ananias to you to lay hands on you so you can receive your sight. And then after you receive your sight, you get baptized. And then after you get baptized, you start speaking boldly about Jesus Christ being the Son of God, and proving that he is the Christ. Then you go to Jerusalem and you go in front of the apostles, and Barnabas declare, to the apostles that you had seen the Lord in the way, and the Lord had spoke to you. And then you start going in and out with the disciples in Jerusalem. And then you start speaking boldly in the name of Jesus in Jerusalem. And then you get to dispute with the Grecians, and so you get sent to Tarsus. Not one person, not one, not one person in Tarsus turned to the Lord. Not one person get converted. Not one person. Not one. The church don't multiply in Tarsus. The church is not increasing in Tarsus. Saul from Tarsus, the self-proclaimed Apostle Paul, he the devil. You got to see he the devil. Ain't no way in the world you can do all that and then go to Tarsus. And then just sit there in Tarsus. Not one. You don't have. Verse 31. Then had the churches rest throughout all Judea and Galilee and Samaria, and were edified and walking in the fear of the Lord. And in the comfort of the Holy Ghost were multiplied. See? And it came to pass as Peter passed throughout all quarters, he came down also to the saints which dwelt at Lydda. And there he found a certain man named Aeneas, which had kept his bed 8 years and was sick of the palsy. And Peter said unto him, Aeneas, Jesus Christ maketh thee whole, arise and make thy bed. And he arose immediately. And all that dwelt at Lydda and Saron saw him and turned to the Lord. Now there was at Joppa a certain disciple named Tabitha, which by interpretation called Dorcas. This one was full of good works, and on thee which she did. And it came to pass no day that she was sick. And died, whom when they had washed, they laid her in the upper chamber. And for as much as little. And for as much as little was nigh to Joppa. And the disciples that heard that Peter was there, they sent unto him 2 men, desiring him that he would not delay to come to them. Then Peter rose and went with them. When he was come, they brought him into the upper chamber, and all the widows stood about him, weeping and showing the coats and garments which Dorcas made while she was with them. But Peter put them all forth, and kneeled down, and prayed, and turning him to the body, said, Tabitha, rise. And she opened her eyes. And when she saw Peter, she sat up, and he gave her his hand, and lifted her up. And when he had called the saints and widows, presented her alive. And it was known throughout all Joppa, and many believed in the Lord. And it came to pass that he tarried many days in Joppa with one Simon the Tanner. Now Acts chapter 10. Acts chapter 10. You know that's the Apostle Peter's vision. And the Apostle Peter had a vision. And you know, God spoke to him about, eating certain, things. You read it, but like I said, time don't always give me the time to read. You know what I'm saying? But in your spare time, you take the time to read. Now, as you know, Acts chapter 11, the beginning of Acts chapter 11 is a continuation of Acts chapter 10. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to start reading Acts chapter 11 and verse 19. Now, they which were scattered abroad upon the persecution that arose about Stephen traveled as far as Phoenicia and Cyrene and Antioch, preaching the words in none but unto the Jews only. And some of them were men. Cyprus and Cyrene, which, when they were come to Antioch, spake unto the Greeks, preaching the Lord Jesus. And the hand of the Lord was with them, and a great number believed and turned unto the Lord. Now, you know that before, Jesus Christ, Son of God, never said Christian or Christians. Never said. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, he never told the apostles whom he chose to say Christian or Christians. Never said. Now, let's continue on reading. Then tidings of these things came into the ears of the church, which was in Jerusalem. And they sent forth Barnabas, that he should go as far as Antioch. Now remember, Saul from Tarsus, the self-proclaimed Apostle Paul, he's still in Tarsus. The church hadn't even heard from him. The church in Jerusalem has not even heard from Saul from Tarsus, the self-proclaimed Apostle Paul. He the devil. Then tidings of these things came into the ears of the church which was in Jerusalem, and they sent forth Barnabas, they should go as far as Antioch, who, when he came and had seen the grace of God, was glad and exhorted them all that were purpose of heart, they would cleave unto the Lord. For he was a good man and full of the Holy Ghost and of faith, and much people was added unto the Lord. Here it is, Barnabas. Much people were added to the Lord. But look over there in Tarsus. Seeing the Lord and the way the Lord spoke to him. But nobody being added to the church. The devil. Then departed Barnabas to Tarsus for to seek Saul. Now, you know this is the first century. So use first century math to calculate the time and the distance that Barnabas had to travel from Antioch, which is in Syria, to Tarsus. That's in Cilicia. Because you had to make preparations. You have to make preparations. To make a trip like that, they're trying to make people understand what Barnabas had to go through. And what think about the church. Here it is, Barnabas. People know him. He left Jerusalem. He was in Jerusalem with all the people, with all the disciples in Jerusalem. Then he left Jerusalem. He got sent to Antioch. And now look what he's doing. Now for the church. And he trying to find Tarsus. He got to go to Tarsus. He trying to seek Saul. See, this is how you know Saul is the devil. He the devil. Evil. You got to go seek Saul. Verse 26. And when he had found him, he brought him unto him. We don't even know how long it took for Saul, for Barnabas to find Saul. You see what I'm talking about? You see how evil Saul is? He the devil. We don't even know how long it took Barnabas to find Saul. But when he found him, we don't know how long it took. It wasn't even no church to meet and greet Barnabas. You see how evil he is? He is evil. It wasn't even a church. When Barnabas found Saul, there was no church to meet and greet Barnabas. Saul is the devil. When he found him, he brought him unto Antioch. And it came to pass that the whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. Now look what he's doing. He assembled himself with the church. When he was over there in Tarsus, he did not assemble himself with the church. And what else? And taught much people. When he was over there in Tarsus, he didn't teach nobody. He didn't teach nobody, but now he over in Antioch with the disciples. Now he want to assemble himself and he want to teach the people. He the devil. And the disciples were called Christians first. And now look what he done. No soon Saul comes over to Antioch. What you hear in Antioch? You hear the disciples being called Christians. That's an insult. That's an insult. That's very offensive. That's offensive. Because Saul is the devil. Nobody said anything like that until he came on. So we know that Saul is, see, that's another way you know Saul is devil. See, every time it be something like that come up, Saul, he seen the Lord in the way, and the Lord spoke to him. See how disobedient he is? He evil. He is evil. He the devil. Now you done called the disciples Christian in Antioch. It was Saul that did it. Verse 27. Very important verse. See, this is the reason why we're going to the United Nations. Very important. Verse 27. Very important. And in these days came prophets from Jerusalem unto Antioch. Very important. Stop right there. Slow down. Very important. Very important verse. See, we know in the Old Testament, you see the word prophet and prophets. We know that. We know that. But then you know in the Old Testament, you have so many different prophets. You know, but see the thing about in the book of Acts, when you hear prophets, you're talking about the church. You're talking about the disciples, the saints. That's what makes it so important. Because you're talking about the church, the one and only church, the real and true church that Jesus Christ, the Son of God, established. That's who the prophet and prophets were and are. See, prophet and prophet is Acts chapter 11, verses 27 through 30. And Acts chapter 13, verse number 1. Acts chapter 15, verse 32. And then you go to Acts chapter 21, verses 8 through 14. In Acts chapter 11, verse 27. And in these days came prophets from Jerusalem to Antioch. And there stood up one of them named Agabus, and signified by the Spirit that there should be great dearth throughout all the world, which came to pass in the days of Claudius Caesar. Then the disciples, every man according to his ability, determined to send relief unto the brethren which dwelt in Judea, which also they did, and sent it to the elders by the hands of Barnabas and Saul. And so, like I said, when it comes to the word prophet and prophets in the book of Acts, see, you're talking about the church, the disciples, the saints. And then let me read Acts chapter 13, verse number 1. Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called Niger, and Lucius of Cyrene, and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch, and Saul. Now, then also in Acts chapter 13, you notice Saul, his name changed from Saul to Paul in Acts chapter 13, verse number 9. And then you know in Acts chapter 13, verse 13, you know that John Mark went back to Jerusalem. Now, I don't say that he went and told it, but John Mark in Acts chapter 13, verse 13, he went back to Jerusalem. So let's go to Acts chapter 15. We're going to start reading verse number 1. And certain men which came down from Judea, they taught the brethren, and said, except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moses, you cannot be saved. Verse number 2. When therefore Paul and Barnabas had no small dissent and disputation with them, they determined that Paul and Barnabas and certain other of them should go up to Jerusalem unto the apostles and elders about this question. Let me stop right there. See, that was the end of that Christian stuff. See, when they said they won't go back to Jerusalem until the apostle and about this question. See, certain other of them. Then why are they talking about that question? That stuff, you talking about that Christian stuff. When it says certain other of them is plural. That was going to go back to Jerusalem with Barnabas and Paul. And matter of fact, do you think Barnabas wasn't going to say anything to the apostle and the elders about saying Christian and Christians? And then you had certain other of them. See, that was the end of that Christian stuff. number 3. And being brought on their way by the church, they passed through Phoenicia and Samaria, declaring the conversion of the Gentiles. And they caused great joy unto all the brethren when they were come to Jerusalem. They were received of the church and of the apostles and elders, and they declared all things that God had done with them. But there rose up certain of the sect of the Pharisees which believed, saying that it was needful to circumcise and to command them to keep the law of Moses. And the apostles and elders came together for to consider of this matter. And when there had been much dispute, Peter rose up and said unto the men and brethren, ye know how that a good while ago God made choice among us that the Gentiles by my mouth shall hear the word of the gospel and believe. And God, which knoweth the heart, bare them witness, giving them the Holy Ghost, even as he did unto us, and put no difference between us and them, purifying their hearts by faith. Now therefore, why tempt ye God to put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear? But we believe that through the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ we shall be saved, even as they. Then all the multitude kept silence and gave audience to Barnabas and Paul, declaring what miracles and wonders God had wrought among the Gentiles by them. And after they had healed their peace, James answered, saying, men and brethren, hearken unto me. Simeon hath declared how God had first did visit the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his name. And to this agree the words of the prophet as it is written, after this I will return and will build again the tabernacle of David which is fallen down, and I will build again the ruins thereof, and I will set it up, that the residue of men might seek after the Lord, and all the Gentiles on whom my name is called, saith the Lord, who doeth all these things, known unto God all his works from the beginning of the world. Wherefore my sentence is that we trouble not them, but from among the Gentiles are turned to God, but that we write unto them that they abstain from pollutions of idols, and from fornication, and from things strangled, and from blood. For Moses of old time hath in every city them that preach him being read in the synagogue every Sabbath day. Then pleased the apostles and elders with the whole church to send chosen men of their own coming to Antioch with Paul and Barnabas, namely Judas, surnamed Barsabbas, and Silas, chief men among the brethren. That was the end of that. That was the end of that Christian stuff. That was the end of it. Verse 23, and they wrote letters by them after this manner, the apostles and elders and brethren, saying greeting unto the brethren which are of the Gentiles in Antioch and Syria. Now you know Antioch is in Syria, and Cilicia. Now you know Tarsus is in Cilicia. Barnabas had to go seek out the Saul in Tarsus, and Tarsus is in Cilicia. So now you're hearing that there are brethren in Cilicia because of Barnabas. Don't you see he the devil? Don't you see he the devil? And when you hear the apostles and the elders and the brethren send greetings to the brethren in Antioch, in Syria, and in Cilicia, you think they don't know? When Barnabas went over to Tarsus to seek after Saul, then find not one person turning to the Lord. They had to seek after Saul, had to go find him. Wasn't even sure that he was still in Tarsus, but Barnabas found him. We don't know how long it took, but Barnabas found him. See, while he was in the process trying to find Saul. See, this is how the brethren in Cilicia, because of Barnabas, having to go seek after Saul. Don't you think they don't know this? That Saul is the devil. They know. That's what they tell you. They know he's the devil. For as much as we have heard that certain which went out from us have troubled you with words, subverting your soul, saying you must be circumcised and keep the law, to whom we gave no such commandment. It seemed good unto us, being assembled with one accord, to send chosen men unto you, with our beloved Barnabas and Paul, men that have handled their lives for the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. We have sent therefore Judas and Silas, who shall also tell you the same thing by mouth. For it seemed good to the Holy Ghost and to us to lay upon you no greater burden than these necessary things, that ye abstain from meats offered to idols, and from blood, and from things strangled, and from fornication, from which if ye keep yourselves, ye should do well, fare ye well. So when they were dismissed, they came to Antioch, and when they had gathered the multitude together, they delivered the epistle, which when they had read, they rejoiced for the consolation. And Judas and Silas. See, this is how you know the church. Here it is, two men. They members of the church. They the church. They disciples. They saints. Being prophets. They are prophets, both Judas and Silas. They are both prophets. Also, I'm going to say, exhorted the brethren with many words and confirmed them. And after they had tarried there in Spain, they were let go in peace from the brethren unto the apostle. Notwithstanding, it pleased Silas to abide there still. Now you know Silas, he a Roman. Now you know Silas was a Roman, so this is possibly an important thing for him to do, because you know Paul is a Roman. See, Silas is a Roman. But you know you're going to find him, when you have to keep reading. Notwithstanding, it pleased Silas to abide there still. Paul also and Barnabas continuing in Antioch, teaching and preaching the word of the Lord with many others also. And some days after, Paul said unto Barnabas, let us go again and visit our brethren here in the city where we have preached the word of the Lord and see how they do. And Barnabas determined to take with them John, whose surname was Mark. But Paul thought not good to take him with them, who departed from them from Pamphylia, and went not with them to the work. And the contention was so sharp between them that they departed asunder one from the other. And so Barnabas took Mark and sailed unto Cyprus. And Paul chose Silas and departed, being recommended by the brethren unto the grace of God. And he went through Syria and Cilicia, confirming the churches. Now you know when Paul be going around in each church, he's not doing no missionary journey. He be going around because over there in Acts chapter 6 and Acts chapter 7, you know, all that controversy. You know, in Acts chapter 8, all that, it came about the persecution of Stephen. He trying to find those people that helped him, you know, trying to find them evil demons that helped him, you know, to persecute the church. And you know, to kill Stephen and to persecute the church. Now let's go over to Acts chapter 21. We're going to read. going to start reading Acts chapter 21, verse number 1. And it came to pass that after we were gotten from them and had lunch, we came with a straight course unto Coros, and the day following unto Rhodes, and from thence unto Patmos. And finding a ship sailing over unto Phoenicia, we went aboard and set forth. Now when we had discovered Cyprus, we left it on the left hand and sailed unto Syria and landed at Tyre, for there the ship was to unlade her burden. And finding disciples, we tarried there 7 days, who said to Paul through the Spirit that he should not go up to Jerusalem. You hear that? And finding disciples with an S on the end, we tarried there 7 days, who said to Paul through the Spirit that he should not go up to Jerusalem. See, this is really why it's important when you talk about prophet and prophets. Prophet and prophets. See, you talking about the church that Jesus Christ, the Son of God, established, the one and only church, the real church, the true church. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, established. Matthew chapter 16, verse 13 through 19. Matthew chapter 18, verses 15 through 20. Let's continue reading. And when we had accomplished those days, we departed and went our way. And they all brought us on our way with wives and children, till we were out of the city. We kneeled down on the shore and prayed. Let me stop right there. Now, I just said it before, I'm going to say it again. It's individuals and groups of individuals who be teaching people. You know, all that. Just talking about they're not going to get married to the women because they trying to worship God. They're talking they're not going to get married to no man because they worshiping God. Now this is God's word. We're in the book of Acts chapter 21 and verse number 5. These the disciples, the church, the one and only church. Now the men had wives, and the wives had husbands, and the child and children had parents who were married. They were married. So when a woman get married, she's a wife. She have a husband. When a man get married, he a husband and he have a wife. That's God's word. Because the people we talking about, they the disciples, they the church, they the saints. We're going to keep reading. Verse number 6. And when we had taken our leave one of another, we took ship, and they returned home again. And when we had finished our course from Tyre, we came to Ptolemais and saluted the brethren, and abode with them one day. And the next day, we that were of Paul's company departed, and came unto Caesarea. And we entered into the house of Philip, the evangelist, which was one of the 7, and abode with him. You remember Philip the evangelist, he was one of the 7 in Acts chapter 6. You know, verses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. He was one of the 7 who was chosen to serve tables. And verse number 9. Pay attention. And the same man had 4 daughters. He had 4 daughters. Virgins. Which did prophesy. Let me stop right there. Now the same man had 4 daughters. Now, being an evangelist, even though it don't say he had to have a wife, you know, he had to be married. He had 4 daughters. He had to be married. Being Philip the evangelist, he had to be married. Because you ain't gonna say that Philip the evangelist had 4 daughters and he ain't never been married. You wanna go say that? Philip the evangelist, he was one of the 7. He had 4 daughters. So he had to be married. He had a wife. He had a wife. And he had 4 daughters. 4 daughters. Virgins. Now, you ever notice? You want me to say it? Every time you say something about a virgin, you're not talking about a man. I just don't put that out there. You never you never saying that about a man being a virgin. The word virgin, it don't apply to a man in the sense of the word. Even though in today's terminology, you'll hear somebody say something about a man, but we know in the spiritual, in the Bible, when we talk, just like the Virgin Mary. The Virgin Mary. When you say virgin, you talking about a woman. The female. You talking about a woman, the female, being a virgin. So Philip the evangelist had 4 daughters, and they were all virgins, just like their mom, just like the mother. She got married. You caught that, didn't you? You caught that. I know you caught it. See, virgins get married, just like the Virgin Mary, the mother of Jesus. She got married. She got married. Virgins get married. Virgins get married to a husband. Then they become a wife. Verse number 10. And as we tarried there many days, there came down from Judea a certain prophet named Agabus, a prophet, just like Judas and Silas. Just like Judas and Silas were prophets. And over there in Acts chapter 13, verse number 1, Barnabas and the others were prophets and teachers. And here it is, Agabus again. Came down from Judea, a certain prophet named Agabus. This is the same Agabus that's over in Acts chapter 11, verse 27, 28, and 29, and 30. And as we tarried there many days, there came down from Judea a certain prophet named Agabus. And when he was come unto us, he took Paul's girdle and bound his own hands and feet and said, Thus saith the Holy Ghost, so shall the Jews of Jerusalem bind the man that owneth this girdle and shall deliver him into the hands of the Gentiles. When we heard these things, both we and they of that place besought him not to go up to Jerusalem. Then Paul answered, What mean ye to weep and to break my heart? For I am ready not to be bound only, but also to die at Jerusalem for the name of the Lord Jesus. And when he would not be persuaded, we ceased, saying, The will of the Lord be done. And after those days we took up our carriages and went up to Jerusalem. There went with us also certain of the disciples of Caesarea, and brought with them one eminent son of Cyprus, an old disciple, with whom we should lodge. And when we were come to Jerusalem, the brethren received us gladly. And the day following, Paul went in with us unto James, and all the elders were present. That's one of the apostle James, one of the apostles. And when he had saluted them, he declared particularly what things God had wrought among the Gentiles by his ministry. And when they heard it, they glorified the Lord and said unto him, Thou seest, brother, how many thousand Jews there are which believe, and they are all zealous of the law. And they are informed of thee that thou teachest all the Jews which are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses, saying that they ought not to circumcise their children, neither to walk after the customs. What is it therefore? The multitude must needs come together, for they will hear that thou art come. Do therefore this that we say to thee. We have 4 men which have a vow on them. Them take and purify thyself with them, and be in charge with them, that they may shave their heads, and all may know that those things whereof they were informed concerning them are nothing. But thou thyself also walkest orderly, and keepest the law. As touching the Gentiles which believe, we have written and concluded that they observe no such thing, save only that they keep themselves from things offered to idols, and from blood, and from strife, and from fornication. Then Paul took the men, and the next day purified himself with them, entered into the temple to signify the coming of the day of purification, until that an offering should be offered for every one of them. And when the 7th day were almost in, the Jews which were of Asia, when they saw him in the temple, stirred up all the people, and laid hands on him, crying out, Men of Israel, help. Lay hands on, crying out, Men of Israel, help. This is the man that teaches all men everywhere against the people and the law in this place, and further brought Greeks also into the temple, and have polluted this holy place. For they had seen before with him in the city Trophimus and Ephesus, whom they supposed that Paul had brought into the temple. And all the city was moved, and the people ran together, and they took Paul and drew him out of the temple, and forthwith the doors were shut. And as they went about to kill him, Titus came up to the chief captain of the band, that all Jerusalem was in an uproar, who immediately took soldiers, and centurion ran down unto them. And when they saw the chief captain and the soldier, they left, beating the Paul. Then the chief captain came near, and took him, and commanded him to be bound with 2 chains. And demanded who he was and what he had done. And some cried one thing, some another, more two, and when he could not know the certainty for the atonement, he commanded him to be carried into the castle. And when he came upon the stairs, so it was that he was born of the soldiers for the violence of the people. For the multitude of the people followed after, crying, Away with him. And as Paul was to be led into the council, he said unto the chief captain, May I speak unto thee? Who said, Canst thou speak Greek? Art not thou that Egyptian, which before these days made us an uproar, and led us out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers? But Paul said, I am a man, which am a Jew of Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, a city of no mean city. And I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people. And when he had given him license, Paul stood on the stairs and beckoned with a hand unto the people. And when there was made a great silence, he spake unto them in the Hebrew tongue, saying, Men, brethren, and fathers, hear ye my defense, which I make now unto you. And when they heard that he spake in the Hebrew tongue to them, they kept him more silent. And he said, I am verily a man which am a Jew, born in Tarsus, a city in Cilicia. He had brought up in this city at the feet of Gamaliel, and had taught according to the perfect manner of the law of the fathers, and was zealous toward God, as ye all are this day. And I persecuted this way unto the death, binding and delivering into prison both men and women. You see what I'm talking about? He's sitting around here bragging about the evil he had done. as also the high priest doth bear me witness, and all the estate of the elders, from whom also I received letters unto the brethren, and went to Damascus to bring them which were there bound unto Jerusalem for to be punished. And it came to pass that as I made my journey and was come nigh unto Damascus about noon, suddenly there shone from heaven a great light round about me. And I fell unto the ground and heard a voice saying unto me, you see how he be lying? Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And I fell unto the ground and heard a voice saying unto me, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And I answered, who art thou, Lord? And he said unto me, I am Jesus of Nazareth, whom thou persecutest. Verse number 9, make sure you got your bookmark. And they, we don't know who they is. When you speak to people and you try to explain to people what it is you're talking about, you should be specific. But here it is, Saul, the devil, and they. Nobody know who they is. And they that were with me saw indeed the light, and were afraid. But they, we don't know, heard not the voice of him that spake me. Put your bookmark right there. He lied. We turn back to Acts chapter 9, verse number 7. And the men, it tells you in Acts chapter 7 that they were men, not they. It said, and the men which journeyed with him stood, they were standing, speechless, hearing a voice. They heard a voice. Hearing a voice, but seeing no man. Saul lied. This the same Saul that seen the Lord in the way, and the Lord spoke to him and was baptized and was converted. In Acts chapter 9 was converted. He the devil. And so in Acts chapter 22, and it's titled, Acts chapter 22 is titled Paul Tells of His Conversion. Just like Acts chapter 9 is titled Saul Converted. Now, Acts chapter 22, again we're going to read verse number 9. Saul lied, and they that were with me saw indeed the light and were afraid, but they heard not the voice of him that spake to me. And I said, what shall I do, Lord? And the Lord said unto me, arise, and go into Damascus, and there shall be told thee of all things which are appointed for thee to do. And when I could not see for the glory of that light, being led by the hand of them that were with me, I came into Damascus. And one Ananias, a devout man according to the law, having a good report of all the Jews which dwelt there, came unto me and stood and said unto me, now you see, he left something out. It says, verse 13, came unto me and stood and said unto me, Brother Saul, receive thy sight in the hour, same hour I looked up upon him. Now you know Ananias laid hands on him. You know before Ananias did it, when Ananias came, he laid hands on him, then spoke. See, he be lying. Saul be lying. And he said, the God of our fathers have chosen thee, that thou shouldest know his will and see that just one shouldest hear the voice of his mouth. For thou shalt be his witness unto all men of what thou hast seen and heard. And now why tarriest thou? Arise to be baptized and wash away thy sin, calling on the name of the Lord. And it came to pass that when I was come again to Jerusalem, even while I prayed unto him, I was in a trance. Acts chapter 9 does not say anything about him being in no trance. And saw him saying unto me, make haste and get thee quickly out of Jerusalem, for they will not receive thy testimony concerning me. And I said, Lord, they know that I have prison and beaten in every synagogue them that believe on thee. And when the blood of thy martyr Stephen was shed, I also was standing by and consented unto his death, and kept the raiment of them that slew him. And he said unto me, depart, for I will send thee far hence unto the Gentiles. You see how he be lying? Do you see how he be lying? He be lying. And they gave him audience unto this word, and then lifted up their voice and said, away with such a fellow from the earth, for it is not fit that he should live. And as they cried out and cast off their clothes and threw dust into the air, the chief captain commanded him to be brought into the council, and begged that he should be examined by scourging, that he might know wherefore they cried so against him. And as they bound him with thongs, Paul said unto the centurion that stood by, is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is a Roman, and condemn and uncondemn? When the centurion heard that, he went and told the chief captain, saying, take heed what thou doest, for this man is a Roman. Then the chief captain came and said unto him, tell me, art thou a Roman? He said, yea. And the chief captain answered, with a great sum obtained his freedom. And Paul said, but I was freeborn. Then straightway they departed from him, which should have examined him. And the chief captain also was afraid, after he knew that he was a Roman, and because he had bound him on the morrow, because he would have known the certainty whereof he was accused of the Jews, he loosed him from his band, and commanded the chief priests and all that council to appear, and brought Paul down and set him before them. Now we're going to continue our reading. Now I'm going to read Acts chapter 25, then read Acts chapter 26. Now, Acts chapter 25, I'll start reading verse number 1. Now, when Festus was come into the province after 3 days, he ascended from Caesarea to Jerusalem. Then the high priest and the chief of the Jews informed him against Paul, and besought him, and desired favor against him, that he would send for him to Jerusalem, laying wait in the way to kill him. But Festus answered that Paul should be kept at Caesarea, and that he himself would depart shortly thither. Let them therefore, said he, which among you are able to go down with me and accuse this man, if there be any wickedness in him. And when he had tarried among them more than 10 days, he went down unto Caesarea, and the next day, sitting on the judgment seat, commanded Paul to be brought. And when he was come, the Jews which came down from Jerusalem stood round about, and laid many grievous complaints against Paul, which they could not prove, while he answered for himself, neither against the law of the Jews, neither against the temple, nor yet against Caesar have I offended anything at all. But Festus, willing to do the Jews a pleasure, answered Paul and said, wilt thou go up to Jerusalem, and there be judged of these things before me? Then said Paul, I stand as Caesar's judgment seat where I ought to be judged. To the Jews have I done no wrong, as thou very well knowest, for by being offended or have committed anything worthy of death, I refuse not to die. But if there be none of these things whereof these accused, no man may deliver me unto them. I appeal unto Caesar. Then Festus, when he had conferred with the council, answered, Hast thou appealed unto Caesar? Unto Caesar shalt thou go. And after certain days, King Agrippa and Bernice came up to Caesarea to salute Festus. And when they had been there many days, Festus declared Paul was called unto the king, saying, There is a certain man left in bonds by Felix, about whom, when I was at Jerusalem, the chief priests and the elders of the Jews informed me, desiring to have judgment against him, to whom I answered, It is not the manner of the Romans to deliver any man to die. Before that he which is accused had the accuser face to face and have sight license to answer for himself concerning the crime laid against him. Therefore, when they were come hither without any delay on the morrow, I sat on the judgment seat and commanded the man to be brought forth, against whom, when the accuser stood up, they brought none accusating such thing as I suppose, but had certain questions against him of their own superstition, and of one Jesus which was dead, whom Paul affirmed to be alive. And because I doubted such manner of question, I asked him whether he would go to Jerusalem. And there be judged of these matters. But when Paul had appealed to be reserved unto the hearing of Augustus, I commanded him to be kept till I might send him to Caesar. Then Agrippa said unto Festus, I will also hear the man myself tomorrow, said he. Thou shalt hear him. And on the morrow, when Agrippa was come, and Bernice was with great pomp, was entered into the palace of the place of hearing with the chief captains and principal men of the city at Festus' commandment, Paul was brought forth. And Festus said, King Agrippa, and all men which are here present with us, ye see this man, about whom all the multitude of the Jews have dealt with me, both at Jerusalem and also here, crying that he ought not to live any longer. But when I found that he had committed nothing worthy of death, and that he himself had appealed to others, I have determined to send him, of whom I have no certain thing to write unto my Lord, wherefore I have brought him forth before you, especially before thee, O King Agrippa, that after examination I might have something to write. For it seemed to me unreal to send a prisoner, and not withal to signify the crime laid against him. So now we're in Acts chapter 26. I'm going to start reading the verse number 1, and it's titled, Paul before Agrippa, and on the other side it says, Paul recounts his conversion. He lied. Verse number 1, Acts chapter 26, verse number 1. Then Agrippa said unto Paul, Thou art permitted to speak for thyself. Then Paul stretched forth the hand and answered for himself. I think myself happy, King Agrippa, because I shall answer for myself today before thee, touching all the things whereof I am accused of the Jews, especially because I know thee to be expert in all customs and questions which are among the Jews. Wherefore I beseech thee to hear me patiently. My manner of life from my youth, which was at the first among my own nation Jews, know all the Jews, which knew me from the beginning, yet they would testify that after the most straightest sect of our idea of the Pharisee. And now I stand and am judged for the hope of the promise made of God unto our fathers, unto which promise our 12 tribes instantly serve God day and night, hope to come. For which hope's sake, King Agrippa, I am accused of the Jews. Why should it be thought a thing incredible with you that God should raise the dead? I barely thought for myself that I ought to do many things contrary to the name of Jesus of Nazareth, which thing I also did in Jerusalem, and many of the saints did I shut up in prison, having received, which thing I also did in Jerusalem, many of the saints did I shut up in prison, having received authority from the chief priests, and when they were put to death, I gave my voice against them. And I punished them often in every synagogue, and compelled them to blasphemy. And being exceedingly mad against them, I persecuted them even unto strange cities. Whereupon, as I went to Damascus with authority and commission from the chief priest, verse 13, at midday, as you know, Acts chapter 9 does not say that. At midday, O king, I saw in the way a light from heaven. Now, as you know, it was a heavenly light. Anytime a light from heaven shines from heaven, then you know who it is. It's God. Above the brightness of the sun, shining round about me and them which journeyed with me. Now the light shined around about Saul, but the light did not shine around about them. And we don't even know who them is, which journeyed with him, because it done. Put your bookmark there. Okay, put your bookmark there, and we're going to turn back to Acts chapter 9. Acts chapter 9, verse number, we're going to start reading verse number 1. Then I'll tell you what, we're going to start reading verse number 1. And Saul, yet breathing out threatenings of slaughter against the disciples of the Lord, went unto the high priest, and desired of him letters to Damascus to the synagogue, that if he found any of this way, whether they were men or women, he might bring them bound unto Jerusalem. And as he journeyed, it doesn't even say morning, noon, or evening, but as he journeyed, he came near Damascus. And suddenly, there shined around about him, a light from heaven. Verse 14, Acts chapter 26, verse 14. And when we were all fallen to the earth, he lied again. I heard a voice speaking unto me and saying in the Hebrew tongue, Saul, Saul, I persecute thy man. He was hard to kick against the priest, which a bookmark there. He lied again. Acts chapter 9, verse number 4. And he fell to the earth. And heard him for saying of it, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? So again, Acts chapter 26, verse 14. And when we were all fallen to the earth, he lied. I heard a voice speaking unto me and saying in the Hebrew tongue, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? It's hard for thee to kick against the pricks. Verse 15. And I said, who art thou, Lord? And he said, I am Jesus whom thou persecutest. But rise and stand upon thy feet, for I have appeared unto thee for this purpose, to make thee a minister and a witness both of these things which I have seen, and those things in which I will appear unto thee, delivering thee from the people and from the Gentile, unto whom now I send thee, to open their eyes and to turn them from darkness to light, and from the power of Satan unto God, that they may receive forgiveness of sins and inheritance among them which are sanctified by faith that is in me. Whereupon, O King Agrippa, I was not disobedient to the heavenly vision, but shewed first unto them of Damascus and in Jerusalem, and throughout all the region, and throughout all the coast of Judea, and then to the Gentiles, that they should repent and turn to God and do works before repentance. For these cause of the Jews caught me in the temple and went about to kill. Having therefore obtained help from God, I continue to this day, witnessing both the small and great, saying none other thing than those with the prophets and Moses did say should come, that Christ should suffer, and then it should be the first that shall rise from them, shall shew light to the people and to the Gentiles. And as he thus spake for himself, Festus said with a loud voice, Paul, thou art beside thyself, must learn to make thee mad. But he said, I am not mad, most noble Festus, but speak forth the words of truth and so many. For the king knoweth of these things before, whom also I speak freely, for I am persuaded that none of these things are hidden from him. For this thing was not done in a point. King Agrippa, believest thou the prophets? I know that thou believest. Then Agrippa said unto Paul, almost thou persuaded me to be a Christian. In Acts chapter 15, that was the end of that. That was the end of it. And Paul said, I will to God that not only thou, but also all that hear me this day, moreover almost all of us such as I am, except these bonds. And when he had thus spoken, the king rose up and the governor and Bernice and they that sat with them. And when they were gone aside, they talked between themselves, saying, this man doeth nothing worthy of death or a bond. Then said Agrippa unto Festus, this man might have been set at liberty if he had not appealed unto Caesar. And then, you have Acts chapter 27. And Acts chapter 28. And I know you know about that snake, venomous snake that grabbed Saul by the hand and he shook it off. A venomous snake. Because he's the devil. He's the devil. And then you had also in Acts chapter 28, you had these people coming when he went to Rome. You had a whole lot of people coming to him. You know, understand? Coming to visit him and stuff like that. But you see in Acts chapter 26, verse 28, King Agrippa said he was almost persuaded to be a Christian. Acts chapter 15, that was the end of that Christian stuff. That was the end of it. See, Saul is the devil. Saul is the devil. Now, there are 3 places in the Bible that you find that word Christian. The first place you find that word Christian is in Acts chapter 11, verse 26. The second place you find in the Bible where you find that word Christian, Acts chapter 26, verse 28. And the third place you find that word Christian is 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 16. The Apostle Peter did not tell anybody to be a Christian. This was after the meeting in Acts chapter 15. The Apostle Peter in 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 16. Yet if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but glorify God on his behalf. See, going around looking for any and everybody to say they are Christian is wrong. It's a sin. It's an offense. It was an insult from the very beginning. It was Saul, the devil. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, never said that. Jesus Christ never said the apostle who was chosen by Jesus Christ never said that. And remember, even in Jerusalem, the apostles, the elders were appointed by the apostles. And those apostles were chosen by Jesus Christ, Son of God. They never said that. And think about the church in Jerusalem. The church in Jerusalem never said Christian. The Christians never said it. See, when you say glory, the Apostle Peter, yet if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed. Why? Because I'm the Apostle Peter. I was chosen by Jesus Christ to be an apostle. Jesus Christ never told Apostle Peter that he was a Christian, to be a Christian. He never said that. He told Apostle Peter to follow me and to be my disciple. Now I make you a fisherman of men. I'll make you a fisher of men. He never told Apostle Peter that you're going to be a Christian. Or to be a Christian. He never said that. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, never said that to the Apostle Peter. And the Apostle Peter didn't say that either. Never said it. You glorify God on this day. See, a Christian. See, that's the devil. That's the devil. A Christian don't worship God. They worship the devil. Because that's who did it. It was the devil, Saul. It was Saul, the devil. That's who did it. And then in 2 Peter chapter 3, verses 15, 16, 17, and 18. It says titled, Beware of False Prophets. See, the Apostle Peter, he exposed Saul from Tarsus, the self-proclaimed Apostle Paul. He wrote, see, the Apostle, Saul wrote those epistles. He wrote those epistles. And in those epistles, he said, he always titled it, Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ. He lied. See, this is how you know he the devil. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, when he stopped Saul on the road to the he never said that. He never told Saul that you're an apostle. And Jesus Christ, the Son of God, never told the 12 apostles that Saul was an apostle. He never said that. He a self-proclaimed apostle. He the devil. He seen the Lord in the way, and the Lord spoke to him. He was baptized, and as it says in the title of Acts chapter 9, Saul converted. He was converted. He was converted. And then he lied. Said he was an apostle of Jesus Christ. He lied. He is a devil. He the devil. He the devil. The Apostle Peter exposed him. He wrote those epistles. And in those epistles, that's what he said. He said he was an apostle of Jesus Christ. How could you say something like that? And then the Apostle Peter read all these about it. Then you saying something like that. And then the other apostles. And then think about the elders of the church and the church. But see, he was in Rome. See, he the devil. He was in Rome. And see, that's the reason why you don't see the disciples. You don't see the real, true church today. That's the reason why you don't see the one and only church today. Because the devil. talk about African traditional religion. As you know, African traditional religion is being taught at colleges and universities in sub-Saharan Africa. That's what they teach it. Because and then you can earn a bachelor's, PhD studying African traditional religion. Now, one of the books we're gonna read and refer to is titled West African Traditional Religion. It was written by Dr. Joseph and Dr. P. Adaluma on the painting. Another book we're going to read referred to titled African Traditional Religion Definition, written by Dr. E. Baloja Adobu. Another book we're going to read referred to titled African Religion and Philosophy, written by Dr. John S.M.B. Another book we're going to read referred to the title Concepts of God in Africa, written by Dr. John S.M.B. Now, examples of schools in sub-Saharan Africa that teach African traditional religion. Now, Dr. Joseph Omasay related PhD Aberdeen, Senior Lecturer, African Traditional Religion Department of Religious Studies, University of Aberdeen, Nigeria. Dr. P. Adaluma Depemo, PhD, Aberdeen, Department of Religious Studies, University of Aberdeen, Nigeria. Dr. E. Baloja Adobu, Professor of Religious Studies, University of Aberdeen, Nigeria. Dr. John S.M. Beebe, born in Kenya. He studied at Makerere University College in Uganda. Now, this is Webster's Third New International Dictionary. This is Webster's Third New International Dictionary. The complete and total definition of meaning word game. The act, manner, or means of going. This is mobile. This is mob. Now, this stupid sorority, that stupid fraternity, this is sister. This is brother. Oxford English Dictionary. The complete and total definition meaning of the word gang, action or mode of going, way, passage, a set of things or person. Is mobile and mob. They're stupid sorority and they're stupid fraternity. Now, the first time you see the word Jew in the Old Testament, the book of Esther, the second chapter, verse number 5. First time you see the word Jews in the Old Testament, 2 Kings, the 16th chapter, verse number 6. The children of Israel. The children of Israel in the Old Testament, the 5 books of Moses. The children of Israel being Joshua and Judges. Numbers chapter 25, Israel's harlotry in Moab. Deuteronomy 7, a chosen people. Deuteronomy 13, the dream of dreams. Judges chapters 2 and 3. The book of Ezra chapter 9. And it's titled Intermarriage with Pagans. Emphasize verse number 12. And whatever you do, don't let that sorority and that fraternity mislead you. Whatever you do, don't let the sorority and fraternity mislead you. We got all these businesses, companies, and corporations that the sorority and fraternity work for. Like we were talking about background checks and all that. And then, think about all the pollution, ground pollution, water pollution, air pollution, noise pollution, and destruction of the environment. Nature, wildlife. Think about the inhumanity. Think about human rights violation, genocide, ethnic cleansing, the sorority and the fraternity. Don't let the sorority and fraternity mislead you. All this stuff about the criminal street gangs, like the motorcycle gangs, for example, the blood gang and the Crip gang out there in Los Angeles, California. It'd be the sorority fraternity. Up there in Chicago, Illinois, it'd be that folk gang, not people gang. It'd be the sorority fraternity. Don't let the sorority fraternity mislead. Talking about the East Coast. It'd be the sorority fraternity doing that ignorant nonsense. There's no such thing, no gang base. Because there's no such thing, no gang. There's no such thing, no mob. It'd be the sorority fraternity line. Going around talking about freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly. See, the United States Justice Department, they tell everybody, domestic and foreign, there's no such thing. There's no organized crime in gangs. They tell everybody, domestic and foreign, that organized crime and gang stuff is wrong. It's wrong. Don't let the sorority and fraternity mislead you. See, all that about organized crime and gang, it's devil worship. It's devil worship. See, the Catholic Church, organized crime, devil worship. Latin rite, Latin, Alexandrian rite, Coptic, Ethiopian, Eritrean, Armenian rite, Armenian, the Byzantine rite, Albanian, Belarusian, Bulgarian, Croatian and Serbian, Greek, Hungarian, Italo-Albanian, Macedonian, Melkite, Romanian, Russian, Ruthenian, Slavic, and Ukrainian. East Syrian rite, Chaldean, Syro-Malabar, West Syrian rite, Maronite, Syro-Manichaean. Is organized crime, devil worship. Protestant Reformation movement churches, 95 theses, major branches, Adventism, Anabaptism, Anglicanism, Baptist churches, Calvinism, Lutheranism, Methodism, Pentecostalism, minor branches, Hussitism, Waldensianism, Plymouth Brethren, Holiness Movement, Quakerism, multiple others, interdenominational movement, evangelicalism, charismatic movement, neo-charismatic movement, other development, Arminianism, Pietism, Puritanism, Neo-Orthodox, Paleo-Orthodox, Christian fundamentalism, modernism, and liberalism, related movement, non-denominational church, house church, organized crime, devil worship. The American Restoration movement, Stone Campbell movement, churches, the Churches of Christ, unaffiliated Christian Church, Church of Christ congregation, Christian Church, Disciples of Christ, is organized crime, is devil worship. And then you got all these cult leaders, cult groups, Jim Jones, David Koresh. You got all these people who take words out of the Bible. The Zoroastrians, they had a prophet. Islam, Prophet Muhammad, the Shiite, the Sunni Muslim, Prophet Ali, the Shiite Muslim. Then you got this Baha'i, they had a prophet. Then the Sikhs, they had a prophet. See, it's all organized crime. It's organized crime, devil worship. Then you had this, the Mormons, they got a prophet. He wrote a book. And then, Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard. See, it's organized crime. It's organized devil worship. It's all devil worship. And then you got these, American, what they call it, American, Muslim Society, the Moorish Science Temple, the Nation of Israel, the 5 Ascended Nations. Then you got these black Hebrew Israelite groups, the Rastafarians, organized crime. It's a whole organized crime, devil worship. See, that's what all this stuff is, man. It's devil worship. Remember these two words, theistic Satanism and Satanism. And then prophecy of the birth of the Son of God, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Matthew chapter 1, verses 18 through 25. Matthew chapter 2, verses 1 through 23. Luke chapter 1, verse 1 through 8. Luke chapter 2, verses 1 through 52. The Lord's Supper, Matthew chapter 26, verses 26 through 29. Mark chapter 14, verses 22 through 25. And Luke chapter 22, verses 15 through 22. The Lord's Prayer, Matthew chapter 6, verses 9 through 13. And Luke chapter 11, verses 2 through 4. Then read the Beatitudes of Matthew chapters 5, 6, and 7. In Luke chapter 6, verses 20 through 49. Then read John the Baptist, Matthew chapter 3, verse 1 through 17. And emphasize verses 11 through 17. Mark chapter 1, verses 1 through 11. Emphasize verses 7 through 11. Luke chapter 3, verses 1 through 22. Emphasize verses 16 through 22. And John chapter 1, verses 15 through 34. Emphasize verses 26 through 34. Jesus teaching in the synagogue, Matthew chapter 4, verse 23. Mark chapter 1, verse 21. Luke chapter 4, verse 15. John chapter 6, verse 59. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, he begins his ministry. Matthew chapter 4, verses 20 through 25. Emphasize verses 23 through 25. Mark chapter 1, verses 14 through 45. 14 through 45. Emphasize verse 14. 39 through 45. Luke chapter 4, verses 14 through 44. Emphasize verse 15, 43 and 44. John chapter 1, verses 35 through 51. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, chose 12 disciples. Matthew chapter 10, verses 1 through 42. Mark chapter 3, verses 13 through 35. Luke chapter 6, verses 13 through 49. John chapter 6, verses 59 through 71. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, established the one and only church, the real church, the true church. Matthew chapter 16, verses 13 through 19. Matthew chapter 18, verses 15 through 20. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, gave commission to his apostles. Matthew chapter 28, verses 16 through 20. Mark chapter 16, verses 14 through 20. Luke chapter 24, verses 44 through 49. John chapter 21. The death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Matthew chapter 26, verses 1 through 75. Matthew chapter 27, verses 1 through 66. Emphasize verse 50. Joseph of Arimathea, a disciple of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Son of God, took his body down from the cross. And also verses 57 through 60. Matthew chapter 28, verses 1 through 20. Emphasize verses 16 through 20. Mark chapter 14, verses 1 through 72. Mark chapter 15, verses 1 through 47. Emphasize verse 37. Joseph of Arimathea, a disciple of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the Son of God, took his body down from the cross. Also verses 43 through 47. Mark chapter 16, verses 1 through 20. Emphasize verses 14 through 20. Luke chapter 22, verses 1 through 71. Luke chapter 25, verses 1 through 56. Emphasize verse 46. Joseph of Arimathea, a disciple of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the Son of God, took his body down from the cross. And also verses 50 through 56. Luke chapter 24, verses 1 through 53. Emphasize verses 44 through 53. John chapter 17, verses 1 through 26. John chapter 18, verses 1 through 40. John chapter 19, verses 1 through 42. Emphasize verse 30. Joseph of Arimathea, a disciple of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the Son of God, took his body down from the cross. and also verses 38 through 42. John chapter 20, verses 1 through 31. And John chapter 21, verses 1 through 25. And Jesus Christ, the Son of God, he gave his apostle commission. Matthew chapter 28, verses 16 through 20. Mark chapter 16, verses 14 through 20. Then Luke chapter 24, verses 44 through 49. And John chapter 21. And then, just like we've been reading, there's only one apostle. There's only 12 apostles. Only 12 apostles. We read Acts chapter 21, verses 1 through 26. There's only 12 apostles. And then we read, see, that's how you know that Saul from Tarsus, the self-proclaimed apostle, is a liar from birth. He's the devil. He's the devil. And then we read Acts chapter 6. You understand? And they accused Stephen. In Acts chapter 6, start reading in verses 8. And Stephen, full of faith and power, did great wonders and miracles among the people. Then there arose certain of the synagogue, which is called the synagogue of Libertines and Cyrenians, and Alexander, and of them was Cilicia, and of Asia, disputing with Stephen. And they were not able to resist the wisdom and the spirit by which he spake. Then they spurned men, which said, We have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and against God. And they stirred up the people and the elders and the scribes that came upon him and caught him and brought him to the council and set up false witnesses which said, This man seems not to speak blasphemous words against this holy place and the law. For we have heard him say that this Jesus of Nazareth shall destroy this place and shall change the custom which Moses delivered us. And all that sat in the council looking steadfastly and saw his face as been the face of an angel. They lied on Stephen. And as you know, Saul consented to his death. And Saul consented to his death. See, this is how you know he's the devil. See, when you know everything, but when that heavenly light shined around about, he didn't know who it was. When they heard that voice speaking, said, Saul, Saul, my persecutors thou me. He didn't know who art thou, Lord. He was lying. He was lying. He knew who it was. It was Jesus, the Son of God. When Jesus Christ, the Son of God, told him, I am Jesus, whom thou persecutest. Jesus told you who he was and what to do. See? Repent. 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 You see, that's how you know that Saul is the devil. That's how you know he's the devil. He never repent. He don't never repent. When he was over there in Tarsus, this is after he had seen the Lord in the way, and the Lord had spoke to him. He had been baptized. He was baptized. When you all that stuff about Christian, it was him. Before the meeting and after the meeting in Acts chapter 15. Before the meeting in Acts chapter 15 and after the meeting in Acts chapter 15, it was Saul. It was Saul. He the devil. He lied about his conversion in Acts chapter 22, verse number 9. He lied about those men. And in Acts chapter 26, in verse 13 to 14, he lied about his conversion again. He the devil. He the devil. In my video, I just want everybody that's listening to my video to hear this. John the Baptist, chapter 3, Matthew chapter 3, verse number 1 and 2. In those days came John the Baptist preaching in the wilderness of Judea and saying, Repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Matthew chapter 4. Jesus Christ, this is Jesus Christ, Son of God. Verse 17. From that time, Jesus began to preach and to say, Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Get ready to end today's video. Again, my name is Eric D. Johnson, also on BrightShine, everybody here in the city of Memphis and the county sheriff in the state of Tennessee. And I thank all my family, my support for your continued care and support. And take care of yourself. And I wish each and every one of you the very best. Now, these are just a few of the free logo design website that you can go to make anti-gang logo. And also, one more thing. When we talk about profit and profits, Acts chapter 11, verses 27 through 30, Acts chapter 13, verse number 1, Acts chapter 15, verse 32, and Acts chapter 21, verses 8 through 14.